Hashtag Corona. Hashtag Snyder Cut. Hashtag Butthole Cut. What the hell are we talking about? Find out on this episode of the Real Super Geeks.
Welcome to the first episode.
We almost didn't do the anime opener.
And welcome to this new episode of our weekly Super Geeks podcast. As you noted from our announcement from Ross Bullock, our Eyebrows of Doom, we have a lot of stuff we're covering today. So first, let's do our round robin and see how our co-hosts are doing today. We'll start with the Eyebrows of Doom since he started us off. Ross, how are things up in your neck of the woods?
So far, so good. Thankfully, Iowa's pretty mild as far as the world events. So I'll say so far, I've got coffee in hand. We're good to go.
Excellent. And our mascot Index, or as we know and love her, Sun Seal. How are you doing, Sun?
Oh, things are really bad with my ISP. About the only two things I can do are this and YouTube.
Wow. Well, yeah, ISP woes are something that are happening actually all over the world right now. We're going to be touching on that a little bit later in today's show. And from my home state of Colorado, although I don't live there now, our co-host Travis Linton. How are you doing, Travis? He of the fidget spinner. Which spinner do we have tonight?
Oh, we got the bronze ship wheel right now. And I could be better, could be worse. I got a bit of a headache, and the current world events right now are starting to get to me just a little mentally, especially with my girlfriend. She's been stressed, and I've been just trying to be there for her. And
how much time do you guys spend outside?
How much time do we spend outside?
Yeah,
she takes
walks.
the bus to work.
Well, buses, of course, are only going to add to your stress. I mean, not that she shouldn't. I'm just saying that a lot of people are recommending, just taking walks, hikes, bike rides, whatever, because that actually really helps both your immune system and your state of mind. So maybe that'll help a little bit.
I probably should take a walk up the mesa. I live right by a mesa, so maybe in the next few days I will try and clear my mind a bit. But I mean, I guess the long distance thing and the border closing, it's just kind of playing with the mindset, I guess, if that makes any sense.
Gotcha. And our stalwart producer, Justin Burton. How are things where you are, Justin?
Doing pretty good. Like Sun and everybody else, my internet is gone to crap, so this should be an interesting show.
Okay, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for the internet gods and go from there. I think I covered everyone, so shall we dive into this week's topics?
Yes, indeed.
All right, at the top of the news is that two big things, that The Mandalorian Season 2 is coming into shape, and been big casting news. The part of Ahsoka Tano from Clone Wars is actually going to be introduced in live action for the first time on The Mandalorian, played by Rosario Dawson. Reactions?
I'm curious about it. I mean, I'm terrible when it comes to actors' names, so I don't know who Rosario Dawson is or what she's played. But I'm sure that she'll make the part fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing what she brings to it.
Did Ross freeze, or is he intentionally holding that face?
I think Ross froze, and he looks great, though. Like, he looks like he's very intense and ready to say something.
That's hilarious. That's the best ever.
Come back, Ross. Come back.
Yes, I had screen cap. I want to screen cap this. Oh my God, that's the title card. That is the new title card.
I guess
it may be, indeed.
We may have lost, we've probably lost Twitch, so bye, Twitch.
Oh, that's
Lord.
true. Sorry, Twitch.
Bye, Twitchies.
Hopefully he'll be able to come back, and so will Twitch.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
It's not our fault.
Damn you,
Uh,
Corona.
Carlos
Oh,
asked for reactions, and Ross's entire internet shit itself. What?
I know. Sorry about that. I blame Ahsoka Tano.
You know who called Ahsoka there, Carlos? Maybe coming into this season a while back on one of the Mandalorian after shows? George.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. He did. He did.
He's talking about
And that was not a
dark,
typical George prediction because that one actually made sense.
because he was talking about the dark saber and said if they were going to go down that route, they would have Ahsoka. Lord of behold, here we go.
Yep. I remember that
Well,
one. It was one of our last shows.
Let's also not forget the fact that he was going off on this wild tangent about the dark saber and all this other stuff.
Oh
and
my
everybody's
God.
like, what the hell are you even talking about? And literally,
He was so excited about it.
The end of the season was literally what he predicted after he was gone.
And we're just like, oh, you damn it. You will love to see that.
Star Wars lore. I'm no good with Star Wars lore.
Oh, you
That's
would.
all
You
right.
would
We
have
can still
gotten
count on you to
a
have an
course.
opinion, Travis.
You would have gotten
I'll give you an opinion, and I mean, like, share it. But when it comes to like predictions and the Star Wars lore, it'll just go over my head. Like, I'll just be like, "Where's my friend South when I need him?" Because that's Star Wars. Like,
Well, let's hear some other reactions. Son, what do you think of Rosario Dawson? As
I really can't say all that much. I mean, I've seen Ahsoka Tano maybe once or twice. I never really sat down and watched Clone Wars.
Oh man, Ahsoka Tano is one of the best characters of the Clone Wars. There's your opinion, Carlos.
There you go, Travis. I knew I could count on you.
See, we got it out of him. That's the spirit.
I just, it's like I look at this and I go, okay, cool. We have some new people in The Mandalorian that isn't just the baby and the hunter. Okay, cool.
Well,
We actually
you
have a
love
team.
that Baby Yoda. And Justin, where do you weigh in on the casting news?
Well, I think it's cool because George would have been all over this nonsense. He would have been rubbing it in her face the minute that dropped, just because that's George.
Yes, indeed.
Uh-oh.
Interestingly, a lot of fan art had been produced with Rosario. A lot of fans wanted Rosario Dawson even before this announcement. And if you look on the internet for fan art, you'll see a lot of Rosario Dawson based Ahsoka Tano art that fans have created. So fans were ahead of the curve on this one. Ross, welcome back. What happened?
You look like you've teleported to a different world.
Yes.
He has teleported to a different world. The camera is the phone.
The camera is the phone.
Yeah, it's his phone. Can you hear us, Ross?
Can we hear you, Ross? Ross is connecting to audio as we speak.
Can you hear me now?
I'm sure
Can you
he'll
hear
be
me
there
now?
soon enough. Are you there? Oh, we can't hear you yet, Ross.
You got your headphones plugged into a phone, and you're probably blocking your audio.
Okay, how about now?
Now
Yes.
we can.
There you go.
All right. So, Ross, you looked, just as I answered my question, you looked like you were like so ready to say something about Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano. What was it?
Did he freeze again?
Yes, he did.
Oh,
Oh,
Ross,
man.
it's such a bummer.
Okay,
Rest-
next week we're going to have to go to
respect.
audio.
First have to pay respects, everybody.
Well, I think next week let's just check the how your bandwidth is, and if it's not up to snuff, then we'll do audio only for that particular week.
Oh, my God.
Ross is slowly being assimilated.
Does sound like he's being assimilated. You will adapt to service us.
Rip. Bye, Ross.
I'm so sorry, Ross.
Well,
He had
hopefully
this whole
that will
thing
get.
about- He had this whole thing about wanting to talk about Death Stranding tonight.
I know. Well, maybe he'll be able to join us again later in the show. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Meanwhile, let's move onward to Onward. One of the movies that was playing theatrically, whose theatrical run was cut short by the closing of movie theaters all around the country, all around the world, actually, and leading Disney to decide to release it for digital release. I think it's available now in digital release and will be available in April on Disney Plus. Which is a big deal, and we're seeing a lot of other studios following suit. We have in our Trello card a list of films that are similarly going to be released direct to digital and to certain streaming platforms. Among them are The Hunt and Emma, and if I come across one that you're looking forward to, feel free to jump in, co-hosts. As I wait for my webpage here to load.
Ross is
Loading.
back.
Ross!
Hopefully, for now.
Use your
Ross,
mobile data, man. That's the only solution, if you ask me.
Okay,
right
so
now.
really quickly, tell us how excited you are for Ahsoka Tano.
Oh, are you?
Oh, no.
Come
Okay,
on.
so I just had to test it. It literally is his phone hearing the words Ahsoka Tano. It literally cuts him off.
It's
Why?
it's a little crazy.
So okay, so now we want to get rid of Ross, we say Ahsoka, and they'll just go. Ross goes bye.
Oh, what a shame! What a shame!
Damn it!
Put on your mobile data. It's the only solution right now.
I wonder if that is his mobile data.
My guess is that it is actually because it's on his phone.
Where's Ross at again?
He's somewhere in the Midwest. I keep forgetting where.
Hey, he's back again. Don't say the AT word.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ahsoka.
Don't tempt fate, Justin.
What did you think of the AS? Here we go.
Continue with this list. Curious of what's coming to streaming or whatnot.
Let's see. Among them, this is a list of films that were originally destined for theatrical.
Yeah.
That will be coming to theaters. So, in addition to Onward, there is Emma, based on the Jane Austen novel, the 25th, 100th adaptation of Jane Austen's novel, and The Hunt. Which centers on strangers being hunted by wealthy elites, which seems so perfect for today, right? All we need is yet another apocalyptic.
Is that the movie I see? It is. It's the one where they're hunting humans for sport.
Yes. Yeah, it was originally scheduled to be released back in September, but in the wake of a large number of mass shootings over the last year and other political controversy, they delayed it until March, and now it was apparently delayed a little too long. So to streaming, it goes.
You guys can watch that one. I don't have any interest in that one.
Look, if I wanted to watch a movie like that, I just go back and watch Pest with John Leguizamo.
Okay. So Disney's Onward, which had 2 weeks of a theatrical run before it was cut short, and was actually the top grossing movie those 2 weeks. Although it didn't do great, even as it was, won't ever get a chance to. It'll definitely take a financial hit. In fact, at least one outlet is calling it a flop directly as a result of the coronavirus, because it should have been teed up for a great deal of financial success, given the audience reviews and the critics reviews, both of which were very high. So
I think they're going to have to, because of all this, they're going to have to retool the system just a little bit because, nobody was expecting everything to be shut down like this with all these theatrical releases. This is going to really screw with and hurt a lot of numbers unless they come up with a new way to rank things. I mean, they're going to have to redo everything because there's going to be no public theater for a while. So they're going to have to get used to this as new normal.
yeah, indeed. And for studios, they're going to have to make choices about cutting their losses, basically, or just simply delaying release until, indefinitely. So, we may be hit with a situation once this is passed, that the major danger is passed, that when theaters do reopen, there'll be a huge backlog of films. And that's something nobody wants. I mean, we do want films, obviously, but a huge backlog is not good for anybody because there's only so much theater space, only so much audience space, and if you've got a long list of movies, teeing up to already teed up for those dates, digital release is really your only other option at that point.
But
there's also
there's another problem that we're going to have, and I'm so sorry, I did not mean to cut you off, son. You got it right after I do, I promise. What's going to happen if this does drag out long term and nobody can film new content because nobody can go to work? There's only news media, and everybody's the only ones permitted to work right now. A lot of the places, especially a lot of the places where these studios are at. So, I mean, let's say that backlog of stuff filmed. I mean, once everything gets lifted, we're going to have quite a bit of a void. So they're going to have to, figure something out.
They're really not at all. The backlog that they're generating right now is evened out by the fact that nobody's filming right now, which means there will be a future lull, which gives time for all that backlog to be released.
Oh, that's a good point, son. Yeah, I mean, California is especially hard hit since it's shelter in place, which means, and I don't think anyone considers movies essential, although by the end of our cabin fever that's coming up, we may consider it an essential service. But
I never noticed that all of this stuff that I did for a living was called quarantine.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing social distancing for years, so, this is not new territory at all.
Proud social distancer since high school.
Hell yeah.
People have been social distancing me for years, so, I'm used to it.
So, I mean, we're already used to this. It's that all these other people are being social butterflies. They're just going to have to get a rude awakening.
Hollywood is taking it extremely hard.
Oh, my God. These poor
really
celebrities. I mean, Madonna had a meltdown. I think she was eating cake in her bathtub.
Okay. One thing I didn't get was Ellen just bawling, absolutely bawling. It's like,
oh my God.
Okay, wait a minute. You were kind of in the closet for how long in the industry? And now you live you literally have your own mansion and you're going crazy.
Hey,
that's not bad.
Cabin is a cabin when it comes to cabin fever.
You see what Arnold Schwarzenegger's been doing? He's not he's been.
Where are you people spending all your time to find out about all this?
It's on Twitter. It's all on Twitter. I mean,
I guess so. I mean, I'm on Twitter. I guess I have different people on my feed.
It just popped
and
up.
there's the 47 seconds.
What's that, son?
And there's the 47 seconds.
47.
Well, hopefully your broadband will catch up. Some of the other films that we've got in the pipeline for digital release is Birds of Prey, which only did so-so at the box office, but may do quite well on digital, actually. So it may going to digital early may actually help that movie. given its underperformance at the box office. So we'll see about that. Apparently, March 24th, which is this coming Tuesday, will be a very busy release day as we see Bloodshot from Vin Diesel coming to digital. Its theatrical run began on March 13th, just in time for all of the theater chains to start closing. Matthew McConaughey's The Gentleman also goes digital purchase on March 24th. The legal drama Just Mercy, starring Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx, also goes digital on March 24th, as will the Ben Affleck movie The Way Back, which hit theaters on March 6th. So it probably will need that digital push as well.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Carlos. Like, I've got Ross's messages broadcast.
Damn you, Ross, eating chocolate pretzels.
Like angrily munching on chocolate pretzels while my router restarts.
where is he putting that, on Facebook?
Yeah, in the Facebook chat.
In our Facebook chat. Oh, yeah.
He's stressed eating while he waits.
That's probably what I would do too.
I just sent him the call-in number where you can just call in.
We love you, Ross.
We'll make fun of you later.
Meanwhile, Sonic the Hedgehog also will be hitting digital, and DreamWorks Animation's Trolls World Tour, certainly not something I was looking forward to.
When Sonic hits digital, I hope they release both cuts.
Maybe they will. They'll do anything to make more money, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, like, I never saw. I regrettably did not see the movie in theaters. It was on the to-do list, and I just never got around to it before this all happened. I heard all these rumors that when it releases on Blu-ray, they will release not only the theatrical cut, but the original animations. And I am morbidly curious of what it would look like. Like, just.
They had that first. They had to complete it before they had to go back and redo it, didn't they? They had to.
They had completed it first and then had to go back and reanimate everything.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mess.
And the studio that did the reanimation, I don't believe was the studio that did the initial animation.
No.
But the reanimation studio, after completing the reanimation project, was all laid off.
Well, I mean, that wasn't the movies or the movie's crew's fault. So
sure, I understand that.
Hey.
Oh, we have a Ross. Ross. Yay!
We have a Ross who's joining us audio.
Please, I hope to God that it works and it
Yes.
holds.
We can hear
Ross,
you.
We hear you. And know your number's
Excellent.
on the screen, so you're good to go.
So Ross, at the risk of angering the internet bandwidth gods, were you going to contribute an opinion on Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano?
Well, no.
Yes. Okay, let's try this. Everything I'd heard so far just said rumor. Am I still good?
Yes,
Yes.
we can still hear you.
Okay,
Go
good.
live.
So my reaction is, please don't play with my emotions like this. I'm going to wait and hold my enthusiasm until we have a confirmation.
Well, the link that I posted in the Trello card is from /film, which is it's a pretty reliable site. So I don't think they'd go with it unless it was pretty sure.
Because Rosario Dawson would be an awesome choice for the cast. I adore Ahsoka. I thought she was one of the best things that came out of Clone Wars, and her arc in Rebels was fantastic, and I just want to see more of her. So if she shows up, I will be over the freaking moon.
Yeah, well, you know what we were talking about while you were having your connection woes there.
Still having it.
George sat there and said, you know, what if we're talking about during his dark saber rant, what happened if Ahsoka would show up?
If Ahsoka shows up, then Sabine is showing up, and that will just make me even. That will set me into the orbit of Jupiter.
Is that the same
would be
thing
so
as a
excited.
squee?
Pretty much.
That is it. Yes, that is a squee.
Okay, that's a squee. Okay,
That's
Because
nerd for
Sabine
sweet.
is the second character who came out of Rebels that I absolutely adore.
we should have
And
a debate sometime soon of Clone Wars versus Rebels. I read one review today that basically said the new season of Clone Wars only shows how much better Rebels is.
and it'd be interesting to see. It'd be interesting to see the juxtaposition of the way Mandalorians were portrayed in Rebels versus how we see them in The Mandalore, because they're very different cultures that we're seeing. So it'd be interesting to see whether this is a change to how the Mandalorians used to be after what was alluded to as the Purge or something like that. That would make for some very interesting and fun storytelling.
Yes, I agree.
Thank God I'm still connected.
Yes, thank God. We
you're
love
still
having you
here.
here, Ross.
So you beat
here's
the gods.
So since we're talking about internet woes, that brings us to a story about Disney and Netflix, the major internet streaming platforms around the world, pledging to the European Union that they're going to reduce their bandwidth usage by 25%, which basically means that they're going to be throttling back the quality of their streams. So that's something that we'll see literally show up on our screens.
It's already happening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
YouTube
think
did it.
although I haven't seen it on my television yet, but I only have a 1080p television. So my guess is that all those people who pay for their 4K video streams are going to see that go first. What do the rest of you guys think? Have you noticed? You said you've noticed a slowdown on YouTube and on Netflix. Anybody else so far?
Like with gaming and anything, it's horrible.
Well, my stream last night was fairly stable. It was on the lower end of what it has been normally, but ever since the stroke of midnight, my DNS server isn't responding at all. But otherwise, I haven't noticed a great difference, just a marginal one.
Can't say.
Travis, you want to say?
I can't say I really notice much. I haven't really done a whole lot of Netflixing or whatnot too much lately. But I'm very much just kind of waiting for the inevitable problems.
Well, fortunately, internet is considered an essential service, so that's something where you're likely to see continued.
Not if you listen to the FCC.
Yeah. They don't see it as an essential service.
Who doesn't?
Well, they probably do now, but up to this point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's going to change because you've got hundreds of millions of people stuck at home, and if they don't have internet, they will have a shit.
They'll revolt.
Yeah, it's the only thing
That's
keeping
the
some
one thing
families from tearing each other apart. Frankly,
As long as they gotta make sure they have two things.
Plot here somewhere.
The internet will fill with zombies.
Oh,
Netflix.
Netflix.
Completely unrelated note, Justin, when you edit this video, you know what you should totally do? You should totally edit Ross's portrait and have that freeze frame in it.
Oh, I intend to. I've already got that mapped out.
All
Was
right,
it an embarrassing expression?
Very.
it wasn't embarrassing. It just looked like you
was
had
hilarious.
something really important to say, and we're waiting to say it.
It was quite the freeze
Like that.
frame.
We all
It was very
laughed
much quite
quite
the
good.
freeze.
I just wanted to hear what it was going to be.
It kind of looked like you were starting to shout in Skyrim.
And you just froze. And it took us a few minutes to realize that you weren't talking no more. We didn't know if you were just striking a pose for the moment or if something had happened and we were like, yep, you're gone. Whoop.
I had something. I was speaking. I've been speaking for 2 or 3 minutes, almost 5, before I realized that the screen wasn't moving anymore.
Wow.
It's hilarious.
You guys just like super chill, super good at staying in one position.
Really good at it. So here's a question for you guys. Disney is obviously taking a major financial hit, and we're about to talk about that a little bit in this next. In fact, we can go ahead and move to this story because it's all about Disney's finances. We've talked over the last couple of weeks about Disney CEO Bob Iger departing, and there's a story out now that he made that decision knowing that that the coronavirus would impact Disney pretty directly and pretty big, which is indeed what's happening, and that he's getting out of town so that he's not the CEO who oversaw the doom of Disney. This is cue for you to do your doom thing.
Absolutely. Because you've seen other senators doing stock buyouts and everything else, weeks before this become a thing. And they all knew it was coming, and they were, before it got out to the public that it was going to be a thing. They're all sitting there getting all their financial stuff in a row, and before all hell breaks loose, and look what happened. As soon as the news broke, all hell broke loose.
Is this why? Okay, Bob Iger stepped down like that day, and then like at the same time that day, 3 or 4 other CEOs announced they would be stepping down this year on the same day.
Yeah, pretty much. Because they're all getting ready. All these elite. They all, whenever the shit gets really bad, they'll be sitting in the bunker somewhere, just sitting there watching everybody fall apart. They ain't going to be out there with us.
This is the part.
There are reports out there of actual doomsday bunkers that some of these people are building in Alaska and other places.
Yeah, there's one, I think, down in Missouri that's built in underground. It's supposed to be massive. It's supposed to go on for miles and miles and miles. And it's where a lot of the data center is. So, they'll probably be in spots where they can try this out and be just fine.
Well, I don't think that's where
Unless
Bob
someone
Iger
brings
went,
it in with them, and then that would be wonderful karma.
At this point,
yeah, that would.
At this point, though, we have to admit that all of this is from one analyst supposing that's what happened.
Yeah, that's true, and that's a definite grain of salt that we should take this story with. But it does lead to a larger question, and this is one I wanted to put to you all, which is around what Disney is doing in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. Because yes, obviously they've had to close their public venues, their public spaces, their parks. But as they're moving films onto digital, and some of them rather quickly. Frozen 2 wasn't supposed to go for weeks to Disney Plus. It is on Disney Plus now. We're seeing the same thing with Onward. It's going to Disney Plus in early April, so basically a couple of weeks from now. And what do you think? Do you think that Disney is making these, instead of just doing digital distribution, which is still just digital sales, but actually making it available on their streaming platform? Do you think that that's an effort by them to sort of keep public goodwill around the brand as we go through this crisis? Thoughts?
Well, it's also good business sense.
Yeah, they're trying to. I agree with Ross, because they're just trying to keep money coming in, because you got all these parks that are shut down. They got to pay all the employees, because they don't pay the employees, they're going to get a public backlash.
Right, but my argument against that is that if their objective is simply getting money coming in, then digital sales makes more sense than moving to Disney Plus. Ross, you want to say something?
But they also want this is also the golden opportunity to get people on board with Disney Plus if people were on the fence. Now you've got these movies that were either in the middle of their theatrical run or upcoming to their theatrical run. They need to recoup that cost somehow. And subscribing to Disney Plus is one of the best ways to do that as a continuing revenue source rather than a digital sale, which is a one-time sale.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
No, that makes a lot of sense.
This is kind of also what we were promised years and years and years ago with movies becoming digital. That there was this big idea that a movie could be theatrically released, and then within a month or two, it would be out on video or on in red boxes and stuff and all that kind of stuff. And we really didn't see that happen until this crisis starting to take hold.
You don't see it with the super big box office ones, but day and date release, which is digital and theatrical simultaneously, is actually a pretty well-known part of the industry for smaller pictures. So that was really a reality even before coronavirus, but this is a big deal that it's happening now with their tentpoles, for sure.
And the whole thing with the streaming, streaming services are going to be the saving grace for a lot of people right now. So it absolutely makes sense that all these companies are pouring everything they can into streaming to get Ross Masters back.
Well, we're trying to see if the restart of his router is helping him. How you doing, Ross?
This was also the best Spaceballs joke ever.
Which one?
The direct to video before the movie's even finished.
Oh.
Okay, how about now?
Oh yeah.
Okay, let's see if we can hear Ross. I think we can hear you, Ross.
Am I good?
Yes, you
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna hang up the phone and I'm gonna stick with this.
Okay,
Awesome,
let's keep our
Josh.
fingers crossed.
Oh, yeah, fingers crossed.
Keep your fingers rossed.
Ross, your
Ross.
fingers. Ross, the fingers.
So I'll just leave Twitch out of it for now.
Okay, let's go to our next topic, which is also a little bit. Well, it's not really Corona related, but this was a spec piece that I came across the other day, in which they basically said that firing James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and then rehiring him months later may actually turn out to be a lucky break financially for and potentially creatively as well for Marvel Disney, because Guardians 3 was originally planned to be sort of the kickoff for the next phase of Marvel movies, and that by delaying it because they had to get a new director, or in this case rehire their old director, it puts it in a place where 2020 would have been, instead of 2020 being the kickoff for the next phase, that we get some one-shots basically during 2020, including the Black Widow movie, and that 2021 ends up being the big year for Marvel's new phase. And so that might have actually helped Marvel and Disney long term with how their schedule for rolling out all of these next phase Marvel movies. Any thoughts about that?
I'm the conspiracy theorist who thinks he wasn't really fired at all.
That's right. You have been that conspiracy theorist.
I think that any wait for Guardians 3 is too long of a wait. I can't wait for Guardians 3.
He said, I mean, how do we know for sure it's going to be coming in 2021 at this point? Because with everything on freeze, production time is going to take quite a bit longer.
Well, let's put it this way. Whatever year that all those movies start to come out, that will be that year. So, I mean, you know, if you take the worst case scenarios, which is basically that this is going to last 18 months, then obviously that puts us beyond 2021. So, yeah.
And last I heard, I don't think Guardians 3 was coming until, I think, 2022 at the very earliest.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, he was working on Suicide Squad, and I think he had another movie lined up. He's a busy guy right now, and I mean, which I think is great. I think he got a real bad end of the stick. I have to admit that I was part of the internet rage when the story came out, and I didn't realize, like, you know what, like, this is a whole lot of nothing. If there were accusations being thrown at the guy, then I'd understand, but this is just balderdash. Like, this is just hearsay. And I mean, well, that's a story for another time. But like, I'm really glad that
you mean the accusations against him?
I mean, like, there was no one saying like, this man assaulted me.
Of course not. That wasn't the complaint.
That wasn't what the problem was. It was his tweets that were
Edgy boy tweets
sexist.
from years and years and years ago.
But I mean, again, that was just his job back then, and unfortunately,
It really wasn't. But I mean, it was not a good situation for him. But it did happen so long ago that it seemed like a. And if he was still acting that way, then I would have been a lot more pro. But the reality is he's the best director for this movie, and he pretty much fell on his sword about those tweets. So Disney may have acted precipitously, but it turns out, according to this article in Forbes Online, that it might end up actually benefiting everybody by delaying it for as long as it is.
If it benefits,
that's fair.
I mean, like, I'm a guy that believes that humans are very much capable of change, and I believe James Gunn is a Exhibit A example of that. So, an Exhibit A example of that, I should say. But
indeed. So, so it looks like the entire MCU timeline is going to be shifting into Phase 4. So I guess the big kickoff movie may end up being Doctor Strange 2, if it indeed comes out in 2021 as scheduled. I wasn't able to find out whether they had completed production yet, where they were in terms of production or post-production on that film. But
I think it's safe to say that all of Hollywood's schedule is being moved to the left a little bit.
Yeah, no, to the right, right?
Left to the right.
Down
Now,
the
twirl.
line.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah. There's a big dead zone in the scheduling of the entire world right now.
Just don't press the big button that says up. I don't want to go up in this elevator, please.
Fair enough. All right. So are you guys okay with Marvel shifting around its timing on its Phase 4 movies?
I really don't care.
There really isn't anything we can do about it.
Yeah, I really don't care either. It's just, what can we do? I mean, we're all kind of stuck right now. Everybody's life's on hold till this we get y'all clear on this. So it's kind of like everyone's on one big gigantic staycation.
I mean, okay, this is still me just acting normally day to day. This is all a new thing for most of you guys. But even with normal operating procedure, I wouldn't care. I'm done with all of these superhero movies, honestly.
Well, I'm not. I love them. So
I'll go and see Guardians of the Galaxy because Guardians of the Galaxy is this awesome little thing. But at this point, I really don't care about most superhero movies anymore.
Well, you're
I
of course
don't
entitled
want
to
to
your
see
opinion.
I don't want to see like the 6th Spider-Man movie.
I do. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Need to see the second one still. So
I'm very much looking forward to Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yeah, me too.
I want to see what they do with Jane Foster Thor. I want to see her mighty Thor very badly.
I want to see see if they do bring the other Thor in. What's his name?
Beta Ray Bill?
Yes, Beta Ray Bill.
Beta Ray Bill, yeah. I'm actually interested in whether or not I'm going to be interested in the Eternals, which at this point I'm not. I've always felt like the Eternals is
no.
It's sort of like what was the other one they were planning on doing?
The Immortals.
as replacing
The
the
Immortals.
X-Men. What was it?
The Immortals.
Immortals, yeah.
That flopped badly.
That flopped big time. And
that was that Anson Mount was at the lead of that.
Yeah.
That was his role going into Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
You know, if it wouldn't have been for Discovery, that would have probably hurt pretty bad.
Yeah. You know, my feeling in Marvel world is that the Immortals and the Eternals are just this. They're too far removed from. I mean, where Marvel stuff works best is in how grounded it is, and both of those are about these huge celestial things that that just aren't. I just don't think they have the same kind of appeal.
Well, here's the thing about all this happening right now. You know, we're going to be getting a break from a lot of these movies for who knows how long. And whenever this stuff starts back up again, you're going to see a renewed energy of people wanting to go out to see these films, of people wanting to go out to see movies, wanting to go out, period.
Yeah, we might actually see a resurgence of the going to the theater thing.
Because once life restarts,
we'll be sick of each other at home.
Yeah, because once life restarts, I mean, you know, this could be the thing the box office needed because, you know, it's going to do a resurgence thing Marvel needed. It's going to restart it. I mean, you know, and we all saying, you know, sick of all the back-to-back superhero movies that have been coming out lately. Well, you know, it's going to cause them to have a break for a while.
We might have malls again, people.
Since we're on the topic of Marvel, mind if we move the other Marvel topic up?
I do want to point out, yes, that is a good thing to do. I do want to point out I enjoy Carlos's quantum conundrum immensely.
My quantum conundrum.
He's interested in whether or not he would be interested in seeing the Eternals.
Yes, it's very meta. It's very meta.
They've got a damn fine cast.
Jokes going over my head.
No, I mean, because I said I'm interested in seeing whether I'll be interested in the Eternals. And the reason I put it that way actually is because when I first heard about Guardians of the Galaxy, I was like, this is the dumbest idea I've heard of in a long time. And of course, I ended up loving this movie. So, and it was because of James Gunn and how he treated that property. So, you know, so I think it's quite. So I'm not willing to write it off completely, but they're going to have to convince me. Guardians convinced me. I'm not sure the Eternals will be able to do that.
You know why Guardians convinced you?
Why?
Because even though it was a space movie, it was still grounded in a character who was adapting to that environment.
Yes, that was a very grounded. Yeah, that was its way of grounding for sure. For sure.
Rocket Raccoon.
Okay, so yes, that's a good idea, Ross, about moving up our next Marvel topic. So let's move to that. This is Marvel's New Warriors project, which apparently
it has sparked the ire of both the Revenge of the Woke and the what do we call the other side? The Fandom Menace.
The Fandom Menace.
That apply to Marvel as well.
Might as well.
But yeah, it's kind of touched
so
on.
basically, everyone hates this, is what you're saying.
I won't say everyone hates this, but everyone sees it as kind of cringy and tone deaf. And it's not just those two characters, which were named Snowflake and Safe Space.
Mm-hmm.
They're here.
Oh my God!
Share.
There is. Okay, so there's another character called Screen Time, and
who you'll be seeing right now. This is Screen Time.
He's a Ben 10 character. Honestly,
yeah.
Look at that. He looks like a Ben 10 character.
A meme-obsessed super teen whose brain became connected to the internet after being exposed to his grandfather's experimental internet gas.
What even is that?
I have no idea.
What even is that?
But now, since he has access to the entire breadth of human knowledge, he sees himself as a genius and is kind of arrogant about it. Internet gas.
The way I see it, go ahead.
He was also described by the guys that were introducing all these characters. He was described as an Asian character. So he not only is he this internet connected tech person, he's also an Asian internet connected tech person.
Oh,
That's
God help us
really
all.
racially stereotypical.
And then there's Snowflake in Safe Space. Snowflake is a
God.
cryomancer. She's able to she's Sub-Zero. And then there's Safe Space. They are a non-binary character, presents as male, and is able to project a force field over others to protect everyone else, but not themselves. And
Oh, that's very self-sacrificing.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you
And-
what, I'm going to give it a go just because I want to see if they can, how well they can overcome this initial reaction. Because, it can
What
be done.
the
Just
hell
get
is
James
this?
Gunn to write it for them.
That is B negative.
This is B
Are they
negative.
negative? What the hell am I looking at?
He's the resident emo and has been infused with Dr. Morbius's blood.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He's a goth who's enthusiastic of the bygone ages of the 90s and 2000s.
Okay,
God
wait,
help us
you
all.
can't have
No.
those. You can't have those two words in the same sentence, goth and enthusiastic. You just can't.
Well put.
No.
Well put.
Oh,
If you have-
Trailblazer.
And
Like-
this was described as a Native American character, but she could also be quite easily be of Mexican descent. But she's pretty much Dora the Explorer.
Yeah.
oh my
What
God.
see this.
Whose
Marvel-
powers were bestowed upon her by the native spirits.
Marvel animated shows have never been great, as far as I can tell. I mean, you guys throw around your spider.
And this isn't a show. This is a
What?
comic.
X-Men is
Yeah, this is
considered, the X-Men cartoons are considered pretty great.
The Marvel
This-
animated stuff is pretty
I hear-
fantastic. Their television, at least. But no, this is the New Warriors comic book line.
Now, here's the
Yeah,
thing.
well.
I will say this flat out because I've seen it come from quite a few different people. This is a joke. It doesn't matter what side it's on. It is a joke. It is a gimmick. It is something to rile everybody up because the comic book industry does this all the time.
I liked
I'm just-
the all new, all different run that they did, where they aged some characters out, allowed new ones to fill the role. That is what I want to see out of this media. I'm so tired of constantly resetting the clock, constantly retconning stories and making sure these characters don't age so that they stay in the same place over and over again so the status quo is maintained constantly. Let the characters age. Let new blood come in and start again. So that's kind of what this is. But this just seems so tone deaf compared to what Marvel did before. Letting Jane Foster become Thor. Letting X-23 become Wolverine. Letting the Falcon be Captain America. That was good.
Well,
This feels less so.
Well, Russ, you're literally describing the other gimmicks of the time. This what this is. This is literally all of those other times. The only difference is this one is so
Tone deaf?
pop culture referenced. Like every time I see this talked about by the different people who are running it, it's talked about being the now comic book. Well, there's a problem with a comic book being in the now. In 5 years, it's going to be dated.
Sure, but comic book sales are about the now. So,
True.
I mean, I remember back when I was a kid and Wonder Woman gave up her powers and became hipster mod Wonder Woman with no powers, but she wore mini skirts and go-go boots. And, that didn't last very long, but they did that totally for that reason. And yes, it looks totally dated today, but, it was a decision made for, immediate economic impact and the staying power of comic book characters. Yes, that is a long-term thing, but that's the kind of thing you can adjust for, making the kinds of changes Ross is suggesting.
I do want to make one last aside. The New Warriors is the team that sparked the Civil War event when this guy right here, Speedster, just was holding a reality show, got in over his head, picked on a mutant villain, and then nuked an entire small town in Connecticut.
Yes, that's right. That led to Civil War. I remember that.
So yeah, this guy is apparently still on the team and hasn't really learned his lesson yet.
Okay, so thanks for putting that one in the pot for us to consider, Ross. Still on the subject of superheroes and going back to superhero movies is continuing news, or the latest installment of the Snyder Cut saga from the Justice League movie.
It will never
Yes,
die.
it's true, but now we've got a couple of other things going on with that. There was more people apparently are saying that they have seen the Snyder Cut.
No, please.
And that it is amazing, apparently. But the news hook this week about the Snyder Cut was the news that Joss Whedon, who basically took over as director of Justice League, oversaw its reshoots and final editing and post-production and so forth, that people, of course, a lot of people, the people who want the Snyder Cut are very negative and critical of Joss Whedon. And he put out this tweet that responding to that criticism, and you have to see the picture that was included with it, in which he, instead of release the Snyder Cut, he says release the Snyder daguerreotype, which was an early form of photography. And apparently a lot of people didn't take his joke very well, but I think it's hilarious. So there you go. Release the Snyder daguerreotype.
But see, that's the other thing, that we live in a world that is digital, and like
more than ever.
the cutting room floor isn't exactly what it used to be. Stuff that's cut from a movie isn't lost forever because it's thrown into the trash like it used to be. It could still be on a file or in a file in a hard drive somewhere.
You know who discovered that early on? Gene Roddenberry. He saved a lot of cutting room floor footage from the original series. And because back then, you're absolutely right, son, it was considered trash. It was literally thrown out. Well, he took it and he ended up selling individual frames from the original series through his Norway Enterprises, which now is known as Roddenberry Entertainment Company. And so he made tons of money off of his own trash, as it were.
And pissed off the entire TOS cast because of it.
Yeah, because of course they saw none of that money. So yeah, it's one of those little known facts about Gene Roddenberry by those people who consider him a saint. He was a pretty greedy guy.
Yeah.
Our friend over at Triangulum Studios has done several videos detailing some of the things Roddenberry got up to, and
we actually got into a pretty good discussion on Twitter about that too a while back.
So if you want to learn a bit more about it, he's a good resource to go to.
Yeah, wasn't his net worth at the time of his passing about $500 million?
I don't think that's true.
No,
I don't think that's true. He'd been cut out of any real profits from Star Trek long before that. So I mean, he was not a poor man, but he was also not a rich man. He was always desperate for money. After Star Trek,
as Hollywood producers sometimes are.
Yes.
Well,
what people don't realize is they actually modeled Jeffrey Conqueror in First Contact after Roddenberry.
That's a really, really sly burn, Ross.
It was unintentional.
It's almost midnight here. go easy on me on my weird things I'm saying here.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, let's move on since we're talking about Star Trek. Our next story is about the impact of the coronavirus on Cryptic Studios and its games, online games, including Star Trek Online, where they are basically trying to assure their customers that STO, Neverwinter, and Champions Online are going to be staying online while their development of Magic Legends is continuing despite the outbreak. And I put this into the mix for today's show because I remember, Sun, you especially were decrying the fact that you were having a hard time getting into STO. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I have not been able to. I've not been able to log in since Thursday.
Wow.
Yeah. I've not
Anybody
been
else run into those problems?
I tried to log in today just because I wanted stuff to do.
Uh-oh,
What?
what happened?
Tonight, this podcast.
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah.
But we're not STO.
No.
I have not
Up
played
until
Trek.
tonight, I haven't had any major issues logging into much of anything.
Yeah.
But I haven't really been into STO much since the anniversary event.
I tried earlier tonight because I was looking for something to do, and it just kept lagging. I just gave up. I ended up going on to Brawlhalla. Even that was lagging. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't see them being able to maintain connectivity all that well. And again, I haven't seen a lot of complaints from other people either. So
The biggest problem playing cryptic games is that most of their interaction is server side instead of client and server connection, instead of the communication itself. Like the client will do something and then communicate that it's done it to the server. Then the server will ping back and say, okay, you're good to go. You've done that. It's
meaning
most of that is connected to the server.
That's
Meaning
MMOs in general.
That means
Yeah.
you have to maintain that constant connection. Well, if my internet is being crap, guess what I can't do?
Right.
Maintain that connection. Now, there has been one game that I have been able to play, which is basically half of my internet time is split between two games. It's been Star Trek Online or Warframe. I can still play Warframe because a lot of Warframe is that ping back and forth, client side and server side. And most of Warframe's actions will act client side. I may just wind up being host migrated into my own little instance because that way there's a better connection between me and the server.
Mm-hmm.
But I can still play that game.
Indeed. Well, keep us posted on whether that improves, son.
And
we'll
it's
do follow-up.
it's a sentiment held by pretty much all the major game companies that have live games like Star Trek Online. Blizzard is doing a special event with World of Warcraft right now, both because that they're at the end of the expansion cycle, but also because of the current crisis.
Indeed.
I believe there's some special events going on with Destiny as well, another one of the really big ones. So Cryptic is not alone in their resolution.
yeah, that's a lot of bad things now. Because I mean, if you don't have internet connections and you got money into these games, you can't play them. Period. I mean, you're done until you get internet connection again. That's the only problem I have with setup like that. But go ahead, son.
Warframe itself is actually supposed to have a major content update this month, and actually it was supposed to be this week. But because of them being in Canada and going on remote working, they had to delay it a week. But yeah, no, they were releasing content anyway before all of this stuff.
All right. Well, let's move on to some other Star Trek news. For cheapskates in the audience, i.e. me, the Deep Space Nine anniversary documentary, What We Left Behind, which was funded through a very successful Indiegogo campaign. And then it had a small theatrical release and a big Blu-ray release, has at last come to free streaming platforms for folks to watch. I finally watched it this week.
I did too.
Wait,
And-
you finally watched it for the very first time?
Yes.
You didn't see it last year?
No, I did not.
No,
Shame.
I did not.
For
I didn't either.
shame.
Well, no, and I accept that criticism, Travis, because I am a huge Deep Space Niner. I love that show. I will tell you this, and I haven't said this publicly before. The first time I heard about some of the things, one of the things that's part of this documentary is where they gathered together a bunch of the Deep Space Nine writers, and they spent a day breaking the season premiere for a fictional season 8 of the show, which would be set 20 years in the future. Which sounds like a great idea, is a great idea. But some of the things I'd heard that were reported about the ideas they came up with, I thought, they don't sound like really great ideas. And so that was one of the reasons why I wasn't that amped about seeing it when it first came out. I will tell you now, and I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. In actually watching the footage, watching the brainstorming and the back and forth.
It was fun, wasn't it?
It was fun, and actually some of the ideas, once I saw the context that they were talking about were not bad ideas. And they had some really great people. I mean, in addition to Ira Stephen Bear, they had Ronald D.
And his
Moore.
purple beard.
Yeah, and his purple beard. Ronald D. Moore, who went on to create and produce the new Battlestar Galactica, was also there, and they really did come up with some great ideas. So I'm glad.
Did you know something else that I wanted to bring up real quick? Did you the hater segment where they're reading all the hateful comments people
that
were
was
saying
so
about them?
great.
It's almost word for word what you hear from people that complain about
Discovery and Picard.
And Picard. Word per word. I can't believe
a lot of
it.
people forget or don't remember just how virulent some of the fans were anti-TNG, anti-DS9.
They still are anti-Voyager.
Yeah.
Anti-Enterprise.
But these were particularly bad, you guys. The DS9 and the TNG ones, because they were such a break. I mean, people don't like Voyager because it's just not as good a show. It's not a very good show.
It's lost in space without the camp.
I mean,
pretty much.
No, I mean, its premise was fine. It was just all bad execution. Same with Enterprise. I mean, I was disappointed that they were doing a prequel series, but they could have done something great, and in fact did in its final couple of seasons.
I have a secret. I hated the Enterprise ship because I thought it looked like a bastardized Akira class.
Well, yeah, but only
was
true
intentional.
nerds would really give a shit about that. I mean, regular people, they didn't know what the Akira class was. So so I was finding that. What I actually did not like, Justin, is as long as we're really nerding out here, what I did not like was the design that they had that would have been an upgrade to that, which actually would have turned the Enterprise NX-01 into virtually the same design as the Constitution class. And I thought that was just dumb. I
don't think that would have never flown. They would never allow that. That's probably, I think that's always been a Doug Drexler concept.
That was one of
Berman we're talking about.
That was one of that was Drexler's design. That was his idea. That was his idea for where the ship would eventually go to further bridge the gap between this Earth Starfleet to something that resembles more Star Trek.
Yeah,
I
I
actually really
understand.
like that design
we talking
and the evolution of it.
It's not that I don't like the design. I mean, it's a beautiful design. It's a design that basically is the Constitution class. But I don't think you needed that to bridge the gap. I mean, honestly, you didn't. Are
we talking about the refit where it's got
the refit?
Enterprise?
Yes,
where it's got the secondary hull. Yeah,
it gets the secondary hull.
I would have been more happier had they went with the I don't know, with the design, had they used a different design aesthetic for the whole, I think. Considering the time frame. There was design aesthetic for the hull plating if they went more in line with what it would look like for TOS. Because I mean, they clearly used designs that they showed it in the Mirror Darkly, even though it was part of the universe. But they could have. I don't know. I was just never a fan of the design aesthetic for that show. But I mean, I like the show. I still like the show. I just didn't like the design aesthetic.
I think the design aesthetic was fine. I mean, a lot of people didn't like it because they thought it was too advanced for, but it's exactly the same arguments we see over Discovery, that its technology was
too advanced. There was literally an entire episode where Reed had a mine shoved through his leg. And they had to unbolt the armor plating from the ship. Like, it wasn't like it was sonically welded. They literally had to get bolts and just...
Never mind the fact that he was disabled over the next 2 episodes. They had to go to a vampire space station to get repaired, and it healed his leg. I loved that episode. I thought it was awesome.
They could have done so much with that, and they did not destroy the station.
But it was self-repairing.
This is the Drexler design, and it was close enough to not, I don't want to say canon, but as part of the concept for future seasons of Enterprise. That's
20%
off. 20% flash sale.
Yeah, woo, that Eagle Moss was authorized to make a model, sell a model for it.
They actually made an animation for that. Let me see if I can find it.
Star Trek Online has this as one of their designs.
Yep, including a redesign that gives it the look of the motion picture era.
Yeah, and I just think that's dumb. I mean, the whole point is, it's introducing it so soon that it's like now there's not a gap. Like, I like the idea of a gap in between the 2 eras.
There you go.
And I'm okay with designs that are in between, but these kinds of designs usually aren't iterative. Like, they're big changes. The Constitution class was considered a big change when it was introduced. So this just makes it so iterative that it makes the actual Constitution classes design and launch feel less special because of it. I mean, really, there's just so little difference between those ships based on this design.
Bringing us back to what we left behind.
Yes.
I really liked the final beat by beat of this opener for season 8 because honestly, it feels like what we were getting out of Picard just in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. I mean, they had the same kind of story sensibility about this. And granted, if they had actually been doing it 20 years before, I doubt they would have come up with ideas like this. They would have been, so this is with the benefit of 20 years of hindsight and perspective.
Leaving the theater, because I went and saw this with my dad in the theater. Leaving the theater, I very much was just like, God damn it, like, I want to see this season now. I want to see this. And it just breaks my little heart that we'll probably never see it. And
no, we won't. I mean, we've lost Renee Auberjonois, and of course...
Exactly. Damn you.
And of course they killed off Nog anyway, but...
So, yeah.
What?
Spoilers.
They killed off Nog in
the very beginning of this imagined season 8. Nog is captaining the Defiant, and it blows up.
And his reaction is perfect.
Spoiler.
Well, it was an acted reaction.
But you know how Star Trek is, because the way they do things, they'll probably come back.
Except Aaron Eisenberg is dead.
Well,
so,
he would have probably come back. the reaction of Aaron Eisenberg whenever he did his clip.
I don't think that he would have.
Killed me.
I don't think they would have come back. The people who they had sitting in that room, Ira Stephen Bear and Ronald D. Moore, that is not how they do business.
No.
So, because they understand stakes. They understand that you undercut your own drama by, oh, they're dead. Oh, they're not dead. Oh, they're dead. They're not dead again.
Yeah, I have several rants prepared on that subject.
Okay,
I bet you do. I bet you do.
Wasn't Stephen Ira Bear part of Voyager?
No.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
He and Ronald Moore did a couple episodes. They wrote a couple episodes, and I think they directed one or two as well, but they were not on the production staff.
Yeah, they did none of the development of that because that was happening simultaneously with the last couple of seasons of DS9.
Ronald D. Moore was initially supposed to be on the production staff, and then he and Brandon Braga had a bit of a falling out.
Braga.
Right. Yeah, they actually have a number of interviews with Berman in this documentary, which I thought he actually admits he was wrong about several things. And
surprise, surprise.
Is he honest about that? Because everyone else that you ask, like, he's very much a fan of DS9, but I don't know.
Berman was?
Everybody said that Berman just was not a guy who really cared for the show too much because they were constantly.
I never actually heard that much. What I heard was that he basically just didn't pay very much attention to it. Like, he let them run it the way they wanted, largely.
Wasn't it him that tried to stop him from doing the Defiant, or was that Braga?
I think, I don't remember. Berman was the one. He talks about it in the documentary. I'm not sure.
Because they were worried about this space station show becoming a ship show when they had Voyager on at the same time.
Right.
I would recommend a video to you, Carlos. I don't know if you've seen it yet. It's a Renegade cut, which discusses Rick Berman, and a lot of it covers his conflicts with DS9 and its production staff. There was some pretty bad blood in the.
Oh, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. But the reality is, he had the power to force them to do things his way, but that's not where his attention was, and so he essentially let happen stuff that he didn't necessarily approve of, but. So not disagreeing with you there at all. And actually, I would love to see that if you want to send me a link about it. Maybe we can talk about it on a future show. But
it was very interesting to find out that Terry Farrell's departure of the show wasn't exactly her idea, but she had no real,
it was
choice.
A contract issue.
Yeah.
It was a contract issue insofar, and again, this is her telling the story in there. It was a contract issue insofar as they said, this is your contract, take it or leave it. And she's like, whoa, we're supposed to negotiate this? And she wasn't willing to just take it or leave it. She wanted to negotiate, and they didn't want to negotiate. And so they let her go, basically, and she left because she didn't feel like they were respecting her or treating her with the kind of value that she was actually adding to the show. And I'm not surprised by that. I think that's most likely true.
It's a hallmark of 90s Trek, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean,
hallmark of 90s television.
Yeah, I mean, yes, definitely television in general. I mean, even today you see some of that where because cast salaries balloon by the time you get to a seventh season. So, so that's it definitely has an impact on the bottom line, the profits that any show generates. Even as it gets more and more popular, it's actually making less and less because their costs are going up, and cast salaries make up a huge part of that increase in cost. So that's definitely a factor economically with TV shows. Okay, so let's any last comments on that before we move on?
Nope.
Go watch the demo.
What's that, Travis?
go watch the documentary if you haven't seen it.
Yes, go watch it. It's on. You can access it through Tubi. TUBI is the app and website.
And Shout Factory TV.
Yes, they're the ones who
Oh,
put
it's
it
on
out.
Shout Factory.
But Tubi is the app and website that carries it. So that's.
I wonder if they'll stream it on their Twitch channel.
I don't know.
They
Let us know if you find it.
There are a lot of stuff on that thing, including MST3K.
Okay, so we're going to swing back to the gaming segment of the show, starting with the latest about Doom. Put up the graphic, son. Ross, you want to start us off here?
Well, I had anticipated getting a bit more time with the game before I started talking about it, but this having to be the sole caretaker of a toddler has made it a little bit more difficult than I anticipated. But I've got a couple hours under my belt, and I gotta say, I loved the 2016 remake that they did. This refines a lot of the mechanics and features that were in that game. It is a fast and frantic shooter that rewards aggression and mobility. You don't want to stand still. You don't really need to worry about cover. There's a feature in it where if you stagger an enemy, you go in for a melee attack and they drop health. So if you do things right, you're constantly regenerating health that way. And now the wonderful, beautiful chainsaw. It's instead of being a special weapon, it's constantly available. And when you use it, the enemy it balloons in ammo. So just that much more aggression. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to look forward to streaming it if my internet holds up. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. But that's not the only Doom topic that we're talking about today. About a month ago, I had put it into Trello, but I think I missed that episode. The original Doom, the 1992 Doom, got a recent update. It was updated. So
I remember you talking about that.
To 60 frames per second. New modern monitor resolutions, and a brand new episode created by the original creators of Doom, John Carmack and Romero. I forget his first name. But yeah, they're still updating Doom, the original Doom, the gold standard of what the first-person shooter is. And the third Doom topic I want to touch on, Doom 64. Unseen since the Nintendo 64 era has been re-released into with Doom Eternal. So updated graphics for the N64, just everything in that glory is now available to play, and I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that.
What platform is that on?
It's on all platforms, console.
Oh, it
PC,
is. Okay.
Yes.
I remember the N64 version of Doom, and oh yes, that was a blast. That was fun. That was one of the few games I had for the N64.
And a curiosity that links Doom 64 and the new episode of the original Doom is that in the loose story that you get in those games, the Doom Marine, Doom Guy, Doom Slayer, however you want to call him, chooses to remain in hell and continue his crusade against the demons, too angry to give up or die.
That's how I feel in the mornings before I've had my first cup of coffee.
Which then actually feeds into the lore for the 2016 game, because that starts off with them actually having entombed the Doomslayer in hell. And the corporation that starts building their energy out of hell energy finds his sarcophagus. And
the first scene is you physically breaking the shackles and climbing naked out of the sarcophagus to beat down a few zombies and then don your armor. All to a heavy metal soundtrack.
Of course.
The new Doom is very much Mortal Kombat on steroids with the fatalities.
Yeah, but a constant stream of it. And an interesting tidbit that plays into our next topic with Travis is that Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing New Horizons were scheduled to launch on the exact same day. And normally this would feed into a friendly rivalry between fans and fan communities. Instead, the two communities kind of reached out to each other, wishing each other support and well wishes on the mutual release of their game, which gave rise to some really fun fan creations. You see the Doom Marine dressed in the Animal Crossing fan stuff saying, "I'm looking forward to a nice, relaxing day." And then Elizabeth? Isabella in the Doom Marine are saying, "I'm ready to fuck up some demons." And all sorts of things like that. Doom Marine teaching her how to shoot, and the Doom Marine just fishing while Isabella's mowing down demons. Just a really fun bit of crossover and wholesomeness that is really heartwarming.
Yes. One I saw is Isabel and the Doom guy, and it's them interacting, but it's soundtracked over the Buddy commercial music. Let me tell you about my best friend.
Oh, that's from shoot. That goes back. It's a 70s.
That's an old
sitcom.
Oh, well, I know which one too, and I can't think of it.
I'm blanking on the name.
Oh my God, that is.
Damn it! What's the name of it?
Courtship of Eddie's Father. That's what it was called.
Yeah, that does sound right.
Father.
Yeah,
that
no,
is
it's
right.
It's been rather enjoyable watching the happy tree friends of two video games.
That's what
let's
this game
talk about
reminds
that.
me of.
Let's talk about that next as we move into Animal Crossing review. And I have to tell you, I have to move into full DJ Harumph mode about this because it keeps popping up on my Twitter feed. I'm like, ugh, I don't get it. So why should I get it?
Why should you? I don't have. What am I watching right now?
You're watching Isabel.
It's lagging super bad.
And here's the Doom guy in Animal Crossing.
Oh boy, we gotta keep talking over this because if not, it'll give us a content ID. So.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea to just go ahead and stop.
Yeah, go ahead and stop it now. Yeah, we don't need a content ID.
Anyway, I don't have an answer for you as to why you should get it, Carlos.
Well, just you don't have to appeal to me specifically. I mean, go ahead and talk about it and why you like it. Assuming you like it.
While Ross is out fighting the demons in hell, I'm over here paying off a mortgage and just fishing and catching bugs and catching some rays.
Think of it as one side sunshine and puppy dogs, and the other side hellfire and death.
Oh, I get the hellfire and death. I just don't see the appeal of puppy dogs.
I didn't get it either at first. And it wasn't until I started playing that it just started to click. And I don't have an explanation for you. I really don't. I just remember.
Sorry, it sounds to me like Angry Birds all over again.
Yeah,
I didn't get that one either.
Birds. It's definitely not Angry Birds. I actually got my girlfriend into this again. I said, you know what? Let's play this. It's a nice, relaxing game. It's something, we could do together. And I got her into it. She's been playing for 2 days now. So, yes, successful boyfriend. I personally am really enjoying this little revamp on the game. I wasn't too thrilled with New Leaf for a variety of reasons. I didn't care for the fact that they stripped away some of the dialogue of previous characters, but I mean, it's not like there's a story here, so I can't complain too much. There's no real story. It's literally just you make a life on this deserted island now. You start from scratch. pardon me, you work your way up to building this dream home, this virtual dream home, and you have a bunch of animal neighbors. Like, that's literally what this game is. And it's the interactions of day-to-day life are actually quite charming. Like, each character has distinct personalities, and there are special characters that appear in various weeks or every week, every now and then, and the interactions that you can have with them are memorable in and of themselves. One of my favorite video game characters of all time is from this franchise, in KK Slider, and he's just this dog that plays an acoustic guitar and sings an animal speak, and it's just the most.
You're saying nothing that is enticing me to this game.
Well,
Can you kill anything?
Well, what do you know?
I don't want to kill things. It's just like puppy dogs and rainbows just don't do it for me.
If I ever see you in real life, I'll just say, here, try it out and see if it's for you, because like
I'll take you up on that. I will be in Colorado. Well, I was supposed to be there this summer for my high school reunion, but who knows if that's going to happen.
I would like to say that I've actually played the first two titles. Or I say first two, the GameCube version and the Wii version. This was actually the GameCube version was actually an updated version from the Japanese N64 version. So of course the Japanese had it first. But this is a game that is essentially build a new life. Do whatever you want. Build a new life. Here's your house. You get it for free-ish. You have a mortgage to pay off. Sure. You can pay it. You don't have to pay it off. There are perks for paying it off. There are perks for paying it off. Like, you can have an extension to your house. Mm-hmm. But you don't have to think of that or worry about that as a problem. You can just create a life in this little space that exists, and you exist with a friendly neighborhood of creatures. You can.
Well, you guys are my favorite friendly neighborhood of creatures, so I'm just going to stick with you.
And that's fine.
I think you're terrible.
He's the worst.
I'm well known as the worst, yes. All right, let's move on to our next topic, which I forget who of you suggested this, but it's hilarious.
Joe,
of course.
Joe Diaz. Joe.
About the butthole cut.
Joe.
Yes. So, all right. So this has to deal.
Damn it, Joe.
No, it was Joe and me.
Damn it, Ross.
So Cats, the movie, the big flop, swept the Razzies, which is the awards honoring the worst, if you will, in films for the past year. And
well deserved.
it took home a lot of the awards from the Razzies, and apparently there exists a cut of this film in which the CGI artists actually went to the trouble of including cats' buttholes in the design, and then they decided they shouldn't be there, and so other CGI artists had to go back and erase the buttholes. So now, and that's the version that went theatrically, and so now people want to see the original butthole cut. I assume you all have some sort of opinion about this.
It was more than just buttholes. It was the way the way the CGI was, because the bizarre thing about this movie is they didn't use physical costumes. I think it might have been just a little bit more well received if they used Broadway faithful costumes. Instead, they decided to put everybody in mocap and Sentai suits and then CG the costumes over them a la Green Lantern, because that worked so well. And so when they're in these scenes where these actors are flexing around like cats and they're noticing the way that the costumes kind of fold in certain places, it looked a little bit too much like genitalia in addition to the buttholes. So they actually had to hire another CGI firm or a post effects firm to kind of smooth everything out.
Well,
this all started with a tweet. I don't have the information because Trello won't let me access it for some reason. I can't even bring up the site. But It started with a tweet from a Hollywood producer who said apparently this cut is out there. It started to gain traction, and now people want to see the butthole cut.
Now, see, here's the
Apparently
thing.
They do.
Here's the thing. That doesn't surprise me that a butthole cut actually exists, considering what Hollywood is like right now. It also doesn't surprise me that somebody would go, "Hey, what was your job?" Digital butthole remover.
I wonder if that was his film Gabe Corner worked on. That would be something right up his alley.
Yeah, that's weird. It was. Is this the tweet that you were talking about? This one?
As
Yes,
your friend of a friend, hired in November to finish. Oh God.
I just love
Yes,
that.
that is
Finding this
the-
cut
that is the
is my
tweet.
white whale.
And there's an ad for the film.
And there's an ad for the film. Thank you, Google AdSense.
You should get ad block.
I don't believe in ad block. Sorry.
Uh,
I think it penalizes a lot of legit websites that need the ad revenue in order to stay afloat. So I put up with.
I
the ads.
enable them where I got to, and then the ones that had the really invasive stuff, I shut it off.
I just don't patronize
But
those
YouTube, I
websites.
watch them.
Okay, so that brings us to our next topic. I'm not sure why we're talking about this, but I'm totally open to hearing why
Oh,
you think
God.
we should talk about ESPN 8, the
Because it's
Ocho.
fun. It's fun, and it has a geek origin.
Okay,
Um,
speak to me about this because I'm
Okay.
like,
So, you've never seen Dodgeball, the True Underdog story?
I have seen that, yes.
And so
I've
you
seen
don't
that.
remember the Ocho?
I know what it's referring to. I
Okay,
just
okay.
don't see why it's interesting.
Well,
Mm.
it started out as a joke as part of Dodgeball, that the only place that a professional dodgeball league would be aired is on an obscure branch of ESPN. But because the movie was such a cult hit and a cultural icon, I swear to God, we were quoting that movie for a year on the Los Angeles. Oh my God. Anyway, that they actually created it and they air it on the 8th of August, I believe, for one day. But with everything going on, the ESPN decided to air it early to lift spirits. So you've got all the hallmark Ocho sports like marble racing, seed pit spitting, stacking, and all sorts of other obscure, fun, and ridiculous kind of competition.
Which we all need right now, because everyone's going to be
In
on
these
shark
dark
racing.
times.
So
There are
it's-
evil times where sports does not exist.
At 7:30 in the morning, they have the putt-putt championships.
yes!
Yay! Putt
Oh,
Supreme,
wow.
yay!
Okay, well, enjoy. I'm glad people's spirits are being lifted.
You need
All
something to look forward to, I guess.
All right. For this next topic, we're going to shift this over to you, Ross,
Kitty, kitty.
in which you're going to tell us about your experience with Death Stranding.
Oh
Mm,
my God. So, after about it's been almost 5 months when I started playing this game. Just working my way through it. Death Stranding is a unique game. As I said, when Joe was giving me shit about using the controller to soothe the baby.
Of course, at that point, he wasn't even soothing the baby right at that point.
Yeah, I hadn't figured out how to do it yet. I was just, is this how it works? But it is a very unique game. Hideo Kojima had been working on the creator of Death Stranding, had been working under a lot of restrictions over at Konami. He left the company. Sony welcomed him with open arms, gave him carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wanted, and this is it. A game that doesn't have violence as its core function, a game that is about linking people together through forging connections, a game about finding hope in a bleak and hopeless world where life and death have collided. You've got shades of the dead marauding around, threatening to create void out, to create void outs, to turn people who die become bombs. It's a very bleak seeming start that grows into something very much positive and uplifting.
And also weird.
And very, very weird. Yes. As I progressed in the game, you see structures being built by other players. You don't interact with other people. You're very much alone in this world, but you see the effect that other people are having on the world around you as you're trying to better your own experience. You also better other people's. And the idea of a game centered around delivering cargo from one place to another might sound kind of boring in the same way that Animal Crossing's concept might, but it's actually very relaxing in a way, stressful in others as you're trying to maneuver around BT fields where they're by all intents and purposes invisible, and dodging mules who are addicted to gathering cargo. They eventually become terrorists who are out to kill you.
Yay!
Yeah, but
no, it actually, the way you describe it, it does. I think this is a game I would definitely take a look at.
I highly recommend it. So after months and months of playing, I finally reached the end of it. Had some very, very tense encounters with several bosses. And as Kojima is wont to do, after you experience the game up to this point, you get the story in bits and pieces here and there. There are a lot of questions. He is, unlike J.J. Abrams, who likes to try and sew mystery and mystery boxes into his story, Kojima actually has payoff and keeps you asking good questions to try and figure out this world, how it got to be to where it is, why things are the way they are, why people make the choices that they do in this game. And starting with defeating your nemesis, Higgs, things start to piece together. You've got the ghost of a warrior who seems to be, who haunts your movements as you connect the chiral network, this death internet. You're streaming information through the beach that is the world of the dead to others, like the internet on crack. It enables incredible technologies. But then things really start to piece together. You get images of that soldier through the bridge baby, which helps you detect BBs. And without getting too spoilery, the payoff is absolutely incredible. The impressions you get of the story as it's presented to you lead you down one direction. But then once you start to see the full picture and the payoff comes that brings the entire story full circle, the way it's put together, this big meta story about extinction. The Death Stranding is humanity's extinction as a whole. It is meant to wipe us out as a species, but then we come together and persevere to survive it and evolve past it. And that, combined with the personal story of how the main character, Sam, fits into all of this, how he becomes the linchpin of it all, is so emotionally satisfying. And that's just the first ending. Then there is what is essentially a movie afterwards that finally ties it all together, that left me in tears. Sun can attest. Mm-hmm. I was bawling by the end of it. It was a surreal and transcendent experience that I have not felt ever in a game. So if you want to try this for yourself, I highly recommend it. It is not for everyone. I will certainly admit that. But if there was ever a game that was art, this is it.
All right.
I'll put it this way. Hideo Kojima is the M. Night Shyamalan wishes he was.
Yes.
Okay, I can accept that. That makes sense. All
And
right. Well, that's a
that-
good recommendation, and I like your pitch for it. So I think I will check that out. So thanks for sharing that.
And this is also my time for what we're watching.
Yeah. Yes, that's actually where we're going next. Is our weekly segment. What are we watching? So do you want to go ahead and start us off then, Ross?
No, that was it. That was
Oh,
my
that
what
was
am I
it.
watching
Okay, so
this
that's
week.
your
I watched the
contribution
end of
for
I
what we're
played
watching.
and then watched the end of Death Stranding.
Okay. So Sun, do you want to lead us off then officially in the segments?
I watched Ross play the end of Death Stranding. at least what little that I could with a bad ISP connection. And yeah, no, it was amazing. I've seen because I'm never going to own a PlayStation to be able to play this game. So and I own a potato, so I'll never be able to play it anyway. So I've already seen like the story beats for the game, and I just wanted to see how Ross would react to them, knowing like he's a father, which is part of the story with the soldier, that he's led a life of solitude at some points, which is part of the story with Sam, and like all of these different things. I wanted to see how Ross would react to these story beats as they started unfolding, and it was actually kind of a beautiful moment watching Ross cry on stream, and not for the the whole macho or whatever. It's nice to see a man break or anything like that. It was just because this is actually something very emotional, and to see someone have that emotional reaction to it is there aren't words there. It's like what, and for all intents and purposes, the end of Death Stranding is a movie. It seems to not end in places because it's finally wrapping up all of these story beats, even though you interact with it. And in this story, it's drawing out the artistry of storytelling without shitting on everything that you've just done as playing the game.
It enhances and uplifts everything you've done.
And I think the biggest problem is that a lot of people don't understand that the first part of the game is literally the basis for what comes at the end of the game, because you had to have gone through all of that stuff in the game itself to feel the emotional connection to the payoff at the end of the game. So yeah, I watched Ross finish streaming Death Stranding, and that was beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you guys actually got to share that moment.
One of the reasons I love streaming so much, being able to share in these experiences with other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that says a lot, I think. Okay, let's move to Justin. Justin, what have you been watching this week?
I haven't. I've been on the Voyager rewatch the last couple of days. Kind of stopped a little bit, everything going on. Just been kind of floating around on YouTube and trying to play video games and keep the mind occupied and do editing, of course. And it's just, I haven't really watched a whole lot. I watched Deep Space Nine documentary. That was definitely fun. I'm glad I finally got to see that. I just never got around to it. I had no real good reason why I didn't watch it. I just never got around to it. I think while it was in theaters, when I was having a lot of medical stuff go down, and I couldn't actually go see it. So that's a lot of reasons why I didn't go and see it when it was out. But yeah, other than that, we'll see. I don't have any plans on anything coming up this week. Nothing's really piquing my interest. I'm just kind of doing what everybody else is doing. It's kind of waiting, going day by day right now.
All right, and Travis, over to you.
I finished the first season of Siren, which was pretty fun. We watched a few more episodes of Breaking Bad, which is always really fun. um, I watched the newest episode of Clone Wars, of course, which was pretty eh. This is the first big episode of the Clone Wars for me this season, but it's also beginning a new arc, and that those tend to usually be the weakest episodes, so I'm not worried too much about it, and that's about it. I'm actually compiling a list of things to watch in case we are sheltered in place here. I'm putting together a list of fun, like Please Remain Calm, Stay in Your Home movies. And one of the things that I'm actually really hoping we do get to watch, if the worst does come, is for Christmas, I got my roommate a collection of all 5 Neil Breen films, if you guys know who he is. Neil Breen is a rising star in the so bad that it's good category. This guy,
You can have him.
This guy might be worth checking out, because I cannot think of a more awkward guy who thinks that he is putting together this art when he is just falling on his face and just continuing to fall on his face in every single shot. It is brilliant. Like, I haven't seen a full movie yet, and if we are sheltered in place, I want to say let's watch every single one of these fucking movies right now. And I will straight up review every single one of them if I have to. But like, just like clips I've seen or reviews that I've seen of these movies just make me like, oh my God, I gotta watch this. And if I have to share a review that introduced me to Neil Breen in the first place in the group, I will, because it's definitely worth checking out, at least that. But yeah, that's what's on my plate right now.
So he's in the same class as Tommy Wiseau and Ed Wood.
Oh yeah, he's definitely in the same league. I would say that he's probably like he's not as uncharismatic as Wiseau. Like, you know how Wiseau's like, you know, like, what a story, Mark. No, Neil Breen
Hi, Mark.
Neil Breen has this, like, I think about you every day. I can't believe you committed suicide. You know, that kind of thing. And but I mean, like, the writing is right up there.
All right, well, you can have them. I think I'm last.
I guess I'm going to be mailing that collection to you on your birthday then.
Thank you, January 29th. Okay, so for me, you know, I don't feel like I've been watching as much as I should have, given the fact that I'm spending so much time at home. But some of the things I've been watching, one on Netflix that's been pretty interesting and is genre related is the series I Am Not Okay With This. It's a fairly new Netflix series. I think it was released a few weeks ago about this teenage girl in, I don't know, some small town who, you know, is going through typical sort of teen anxiety while also having to manage her budding new superpowers. And it's actually really charming. So worth watching. And let's see. I also have been watching on Hulu the new Reese Witherspoon miniseries called Little Fires Everywhere, which is not sci-fi related in any way, but is a really good series set in this very wealthy suburb in Ohio and based on a novel. And it's is quite good. It's getting lots of good reviews. And I noticed on and then also on Netflix, that's a half-hour series. I think it's 8 episodes, called On My Block. It's their 3rd season, and it's set in this kind of a rough neighborhood with gangs and stuff in Los Angeles. But it has such heart. It is. I've loved every season of it. I just finished the series, the new season today, and it's about this group of friends who, solve mysteries and figure out, their relationships with each other and everything. And it's not soapy at all. If in case I'm making it sound soapy, it is not soapy. It's got lots of, action and adventure, and you'll learn a lot about gangs if you're interested in that.
Boy, that's quite a list for someone who hasn't been watching a whole lot.
Well, and that's about it really for this week. I mean, I've watched like This Is Us, but I won't, go on about that. I will close out with one thing, which I thought was really interesting. And we've talked about this before, about the whole, how much Netflix and the other streaming platforms really reveal about who's watching what and how much on their platforms, and how they've been very stingy with that information. And I wanted to share with you a new feature on Netflix. At least I didn't see it until today. It may have been around for a while.
That Google extension, watch with other people.
I think that's that's for Netflix, but they now have a top 10 in the US Today list.
Yeah, I've seen that.
So you actually get a sense of the popularity of things. It still doesn't give you numbers and ratings, but it does give you a sense of what people are watching. And yes, that's actually where I was going with this, Travis. I'm glad you noticed. That was the first thing I noticed too. That disaster movies and pandemic movies are 2 of the 10.
Because Outbreak was
slots
up there too the other day. Outbreak was part of, actually, Netflix recommended Outbreak to see that. One of my little phone notifications the other day said recommended by Netflix. I'm like, oh, really?
Ironically enough, I mean, like 2012 immediately came to mind when we were talking about the Disney CEOs and them hunkering down in a bunker in Alaska somewhere. It's like, oh my God, are they just playing out the plot to 2012? I mean, what?
Well, it just shows how predictable people can be, that Hollywood writers figured it out long before it actually happened.
I mean, it's a terrible movie, so
it really was a terrible movie.
It is bad.
Limousine chase scene and an earthquake.
I mean, like, I consider Roland Emmerich to be a bit of a guilty pleasure for me. I enjoy Independence Day. I enjoy the Stargate movie. I enjoy the 1998 Godzilla to a point. I enjoy The Day After Tomorrow. After that,
I like The Day After Tomorrow. I like some of those movies. I really do.
Godzilla.
I actually
that 98 Godzilla though, that was pretty bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it was pretty bad.
It was so bad that the Tokyo Godzilla company actually spoofed it in Final Wars.
I mean, I feel like the only person that actually enjoyed that movie.
It's a creature feature that I enjoy. I don't enjoy it as a Godzilla movie. It's a creature feature. I enjoy that.
Okay. Well, by the way, if you noticed on that top 10 list, number 10 was the show I was just talking about, On My Block. So the episodes are only a half hour long. You should check them out. They're really clever, and it zooms from, comedy to drama, and I think it manages both really well. Anyway, so that's me for this week, and it sounds like it's us for this week.
I do have one thing to
go ahead, son.
You were showing off that top 10 list, and a lot of those are disaster movies. I think a lot of people tend to lean towards those to look for some kind of survivability.
And also to make sense of things, I think that makes sense.
Sure. But if you're looking for a little bit of survivability, there is a colonial YouTube channel, a Colonial America, like recreationist channel. And it's called Townsend's, and they do a lot of 18th century cooking. So
that and there are a
like,
whole.
things like portable soup or the real pumpkin pie or Christmas.
They
Eve,
have
all that kind of
hundreds of videos, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, and there are tons and tons
they
and tons of.
They are making videos every week.
There's
What's the name
also
of the
another
channel
channel.
again?
Townsend's.
It's called Townsend's. I've got it up on the screen.
There's another one that's been going out, and they're like, they're showing you how to build structures. This old style structures, like out of branches and logs and mud and everything like that. And a couple kids.
Townsend's is too. They built a log cabin. That's
Oh,
the
yeah,
video of
I've
them
seen
building
this.
a log cabin.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
There's a lot of these preppers and a lot of these guys right now, very popular. It's a good idea to go look these people up and see how to do some survival techniques. There's some that actually show you how to skin an animal, how to properly prepare it to cook it. It's all going to be stuff that probably some people might need in the future if things keep getting bad.
And then there's Augustin Farms, which sells 5-gallon buckets of dehydrated food powder. Their stock is currently sold out.
Of course
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
They're the makers of Fiesta Pale.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, I love this one. Fish pie. Fish baked in pastry from the French in the 17th century.
Mm-hmm.
That so works for me.
Oh, well, we always found something for Carlos to binge watch.
Naval rations, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that this is the kind of thing I'd watch it. I don't watch that many cooking things, but I do occasionally. And but I'll definitely check it out. That's a great recommendation, son. Thank you.
I also found a clip a couple of years ago. I'm probably going to share this on Facebook again from the United States Department of Agriculture, probably during the war, and it's a propaganda article for keeping chickens for fresh eggs.
There's a YouTuber that I follow called.
Man. The city I used to live in, Boone, they have this ongoing controversy about people wanting to keep chickens on their property, but the city keeps trying to pass ordinance against it.
Well, now a lot of people are wanting to do it.
Here's a tagline from the United States Department of Agriculture. It says, "In times of peace, a profitable recreation. In times of war, a patriotic duty."
Exactly.
When I was watching one of my YouTubers earlier today, his name is called Keeping It Dutch, and he was talking about how he was at Lowe's and Tractor Supply, and people were buying chickens and buying portable chicken coops. And any little plants, anything that tomato plant, anything, they're just buying them up left and right.
Okay, well, I suppose that's one way to spend your time sheltered in place. All right, so that brings us to the end of this week's show. A couple of program notes. Obviously, we've got the big Star Trek Picard season finale coming up on Thursday. We will be recording our review and commentary and our prediction SmackDown, our final prediction SmackDown on Friday, release on Saturday. And then, of course, we'll be back with this show, which we're going to be recording next Sunday for release Monday. I think we're talking about, Justin and I were talking about shifting this show now to that Friday recording, Saturday release schedule once Picard is done, and sticking with that for a while until Discovery starts, which we don't know when its start date is. Presumably it's in the spring, I hope, but we'll see. So stay tuned for notice on that. Otherwise, check out our Trello page for the stories we're monitoring through the week. And this is your last chance, folks, to say anything before we sign off. Anybody?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting talking about the Best of Both Worlds Part 3.
Yes, it is. Prepare to be blue balled. And remember, everybody, if you're going to play games, at least play the classics, because the classics have always been there. And well, if I can get
You're more of a DJ Harumph than I am, Justin. I say try the new stuff.
Okay, now we will get a copyright strike.
Yeah.
We're
Nintendo is
okay.
notorious about that.
I done it the last time that we did that. We were fine.
If you're going to play a video game, play the classics. What are we going to play? Minesweeper?
Solitaire.
Lots and lots of
Solitaire.
All I'm gonna say is
Sudoku.
all I'm gonna say is let Eleanor see the damn cat, please.
Yes, Eleanor the
Eleanor
cat. I
of
am pulling for you
Borg.
on that one, Travis.
Eleanor
I'm pulling for you
of
on that one.
Borg. Eleanor of Borg.
Not going to happen. All right. We'll save that for the next show. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Like alert.